All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monthly Movie Dispatch, the movie review show from friends you can trust. Every week, we broadcast a review of a new film, talk about some film news, and recommend what to watch. We've been talking and critiquing and gushing over movies since we were in high school, and we aim to bring you an honest conversation about relevant cinema. Tonight, I am here with Nick Moffat.
Hello.
I'm Derek Deal. How's it going?
Yeah,
How you doing?
dude, great, man, great. I just saw F9, the Fast Saga today, and
Nice.
I'm psyched about it, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. Um, hey, real quick, happy birthday tomorrow,
Oh, thank you.
right? It's your birthday tomorrow.
It is, yes.
Birthday, Derek.
Yeah.
I was
Big
trying to come up with a nickname really quick.
birthday Derek is
Birthday,
a good nickname.
birthday, Derek, because you have a birthday tomorrow.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Phoenix had his yesterday, hottest day of the
Right.
year.
Oh my goodness. You
Um,
guys survive over there on his hot birthday?
yeah, just barely. It
Ooh,
was
ooh.
brutal, but um, yeah, we made it through, and luckily, theaters are open again, and there's a good escape if you need some AC. Can hop on over and go watch F9 again if we need to.
Totally. That's I was telling Shannon, you know, her parents, she was like, I this is what they're doing. I was like, man, if it were me, I would just go to the movies all day. I'd
Yeah.
see Fast 9 3 times. She was
Yeah.
like, that's what you would do. but, but
Yeah.
yeah, I would. Yeah.
So obviously we're going to be talking about F9, the Fast Saga today. Um, but before we get into that, I thought maybe we could talk about some box office stuff. As we're getting into June, end of June, July, things are opening back up. People are getting out and seeing movies, and studios are pumping out the big. They're bringing out the big guns now. So we got F9 came out this weekend, and in the U.S. it opened to like $70 million, which is pretty big for the situation we're in. So it's a good sign that things are, theater wise at least, and like box office wise, things are trying to get back to where they were. I don't know if they ever will truly get back to like those large numbers, but maybe it will. Who knows? But it met what they were predicting it to make, which was $70 million. So that's a good sign that people are getting out and seeing movies, and then we have a Marvel movie that comes out in like a week and a half, which will also be kind of a good testing the waters and seeing like really what's this landscape kind of look like for people that want to get back to the movies, and what these studios can maybe expect to see in return.
Yeah, man. It's looking great. I think that it's kind of this question that I keep asking of like, is it the safety precautions? Is it just that movies aren't like the movie that people want to see isn't out yet?
Yeah.
We've been talking about this for a few weeks now, going on ever since we kind of started going back to the movies, and for me, it's like the two new movies I saw in theaters, Quiet Place 2 and F9. Both were movies that I was excited about seeing, and I haven't really gone out of my way for any movies that I haven't been very excited to see. And both of those movies were met with like pretty good box office results.
Yeah.
And especially F9, like this movie, maybe it didn't make as much as it would pre-pandemic, but it, it's looking good. It's looking real good.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gives me a lot of faith that Black Widow's going to come out in 2 weeks, and that'll probably do really well. And especially the early buzz on the movie is that it's supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
So you know, um, it's cool. It's cool. It's going well.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's just from that point, I don't have it in front of me, but there's just like a slew of all these blockbusters they've been saving up and not releasing are just gonna start piling out over the next, like, pretty much all the way till December. It's just like constant, just tons of movies. So um, I think they're confident that it's gonna get back to normal, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. From my whole take on is like I don't. It doesn't need to go back to how it was. Like I kind of think how it was causing a problem, which was they only wanted billion-dollar movies. And it was like that was the expectation is if you put out a movie, it's you better make sure it hits hard and makes $1 billion. And pleases everybody. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe that doesn't happen necessarily, and these studios are more willing to like take creative risks to get people into the seats and see movies as opposed to just trying to make cast the whitest blanket possible. That probably won't
Like,
happen, but
yeah, I
that's
mean,
my
you're
hope.
talking about something that is like a deep conversation that I don't
Yeah.
know if we have the
No,
time
no,
or
no, I
numbers
know.
for right now. But I
Yeah.
mean, I love this. Honestly, I love this thinking that you're going with. I was just talking to some friends about the other day how there aren't really comedies anymore.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
comedies on the big screen are fairly non-existent. When like 10 years ago you could list off a bunch that were like star-driven, hill just pure comedies. Nowadays, it's like the comedies that do come out are like more cerebral or they have a sci-fi element or some other genre, and it's like and a lot of people were worried about this happening with like Disney buying Fox and closing a bunch of their studios. Just you're right, the mid-budget movie has like basically disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't thought of this. Like, if if people aren't coming out as much, studios will be forced to kind of swing the other way and start kind of making those mid-budget thrillers that aren't really made for theaters too much anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I wonder what'll happen though. It's very curious. It's because yeah, right now it seems like it's like the billion-dollar movies or the small indies that get propped up.
Yeah.
Those are the types of movies that are available right now. But like the '90s thrillers that used to be out all the time, um, those are few and far between.
Yeah. You just get a David Fincher thriller every once a decade or whatever. um,
Well,
yeah. But yeah, so that's just kind of an opening topic, and it's cool to see that this movie's doing well. At least people are going to see it, and it's getting decent buzz. Um, but let's move on to the review, unless you had anything else to add there.
um, yeah, I just hope people kind of get back to the movies, if they feel safe about it.
Yeah,
To me, it was a great escape going today. It was very fun just going in and um, basically sitting in it's been super hot here, sitting in
yeah,
a dark air conditioned theater and not having to think about anything else for 3 hours.
yeah.
It was a break, and I honestly feel refreshed from it. It was some needed self care.
Yeah.
So, recommend it.
I,
Recommend it going to the movies.
I will say I'll probably bring it up in the review too, just because we seem to never get enough time. Like we can never gush enough about the Dolby Theater. But that's where I saw this movie at in Alderwood, and it was just like, oh yeah, like sitting there, like with that screen and like it being so freaking loud and like the seats rumbling and stuff. I was just like, oh yeah, this is like, I miss this a lot. Like
You
this
don't
was why I was coming here all the time. Like this is the
you don't
coolest.
get that at home.
Yeah, it's like it's on. You can turn it up. You can have a loud movie at home, but like you don't feel it the way that theater like pushes you back into your seat, in your nice
Yeah.
reclined leather seat and stuff. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'm gonna try to go more often now too, especially with all these big movies. I don't want to. It's not as fun to watch something like this at home. It's just it can be good, but at the same time, you just don't. It's just so big. You just need
Yeah.
that like big experience to go with it. I feel like
Do you have your tickets for Black Widow yet?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Maybe we should talk off air, but maybe it'd be fun if we went with each other or something.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about it.
I resubmitted my I re-signed up for AMC Stubs A
Oh,
list,
sweet.
so
So we
I'm
can
good to
do.
go with that.
We can entourage, as it
Entourage.
were.
Entourage.
All right.
That was my impression of Michael Scott doing an impression of Entourage.
Oh. Nice. All right. So the movie we're going to talk about tonight is F9: The Fast Saga. directed by Justin Lin, longtime Fast and Furious director, is returning. He did Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, Fast Five, Fast and Furious 6, and then he stepped away, made a Star Trek movie, and now he's back with F9. So that's his fifth movie then, right, in this series. A lot of people,
Um,
kind of attribute the tone and like kind of the big bombastic action set pieces to him, because this is kind of what he's in their whole revamp when they brought Vin Diesel and everybody back to it. This is kind of the direction they've been going in, and I personally think I really like James Wan's Furious 7 also, but I think Justin Lin is just like, he's so good at those big action set pieces that are just like over the top, like don't think about it, this is just cool shit happening all over the place, and he's just like, he's so good at that. Let me finish introducing it though, I guess. Stars Vin Diesel, John Cena, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson. The plot: the extended Toretto family are back to work doing spy mercenary things, only to discover that Dom has a brother, and he is a spy man too, and he is after the same thing as them. It's a race against time as the gang try to stop John Cena from controlling all electronics on the planet. So that's F9. That's the plot of F9, pretty much.
oh yeah.
uh, my initial thoughts of the movie is I thought it was very much felt just like the old, like I guess I'd compare it most to like Fast and Furious 6, as far as like the Justin Lin uh, ones go. It felt very much like right in that tone, like you didn't skip a beat. Um, it like the action, like they're so like these the action set pieces in this movie are so big, and they're just there's so much ingenuity in them that I just can't help but like gush over, uh, like just I knowing what they after seeing like all Fast Five, like behind the scenes, and like 6 and 7, seeing all these like crazy stunts that they are doing and stuff. It's making it that's like stuff I'm now like paying attention to when I watching this movie, and like the first big action set piece, I was just like just smiling and watching, like as I could see like all the cool shit that I knew they were trying to do practically, and
And
like
that's the set piece where
in the jungle
they're
and
driving
stuff.
through the jungle, and they go through a minefield,
Yeah, there's a
and they
part
each have the
there's
go
oh
ahead.
no, go ahead. No, you can
No, no, go on.
set it up. Well, I was just gonna say there's a part when they're driving through the minefield and a mine explodes, and it's like the cars aren't the or there's a car driving, but like it's not the forefront, but there's a car in the background. The mine explodes, and you see the back window of the car explode out of the car,
Yeah.
and it's like I don't know, that kind of stuff. Just like it's like, oh man, you can tell like they're doing this stuff. They're trying to make it as visceral and practical as possible, and it really pays off, I think.
Yeah, it's a really cool scene. I didn't see the trailer for this movie, so I don't know if any of these things are in the trailer. So I'm sorry if I recap some of those things.
Yeah.
But like, I'd never seen like that minefield sort of scene in the way they did it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they went into the field, and it was like, okay, the time that the bomb, like they knew exactly how long it would take for the mine to go off. So they're like, we're driving fast enough, so we'll be able to beat the explosion.
Like they
But
have to
then
go 80
Tyrese is
miles an
driving
hour or
like
something.
right, right, yeah. Tyrese is driving a tank basically that only goes up to 70. So he's just hitting bombs as they're going, and he's like, just trying to keep driving, and it was very, very exciting. And there were a lot of I'm with you, man. There were a lot of moments in that scene that were just jaw dropping and exciting. I was just again like I was just happy to be in the theater enjoying this spectacle on the big screen. It was
Yeah.
so cool.
I think
Um,
when like these Fast and Furious action scenes, like there's like people, there's like action movies, and you're like delivering a scene that like maybe moves the plot, or there's or it's a carefully crafted, like well paced action scene. And I feel like the Fast and Furious action scenes is they like just push it as far as they can with like how much, without going over the top like Michael Bay where you can't tell what's happening. Like it's still well directed action, but like yeah, that scene it's like they're trying to push it right to that point where you're like, okay, I don't believe this anymore. But they want to get right there. They want to get right to that point where you're like not you're not questioning them yet, but they're pushing
Totally,
it far
totally.
enough where it's like unreal how
I mean, they
crazy it
push it
is, you know.
pretty freaking
They
far,
do.
though,
They do.
right? I mean, like, there's in this scene, there was a moment, the climax of this scene. I mean, I think we can spoil it. I know this was in the
Yeah,
trailer.
it is.
Like, basically, the bridge collapses, and Vin Diesel, Dom, and Michelle Rodriguez, they're driving towards the bridge, and Vin Diesel hits it at such an angle that the cable from the bridge catches on his tire, which is very unbelievable. Like that,
Right.
that to me is the part where you're like, yeah, right. How could he figure it out so that the rope from the bridge, the cable from the bridge would get onto his car? That's the part where I'm like, I don't know about that. But then he drives over the bridge and he uses that that little string from the bridge as a sling, and he like they go shooting around and like
Like
hovering in
in
air as they're like,
Indiana Jones, like
oh my
swing.
gosh, it was just like Indiana Jones but with a car. And like that was the thing, like that to me almost sums up all the action, the whole franchise.
Yeah.
We're like,
No, for
yeah,
sure.
it's ridiculous, yeah, it's like this could never happen in real life, like
Yeah.
no one's even disputing that it would happen in real life. But you know what, it was really cool. And then the way that they actually did that movement of the car swinging, it felt like that could actually happen.
Yeah.
You know, like obviously I'm not saying it could, I'm not saying it would, but like in that moment where they had Vin Diesel and Michelle Rodriguez in the car just like holding their breaths
They
as
got
the
the
car is basically
physics.
floating. Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt like the physics was actually happening, and it felt like, yeah, well, hold your breath, this is gonna happen, especially on the big screen, especially as it's
Yeah.
all happening. And then it just was a very well done, awesome scene.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of like the heart of this movie, I think. You know, I've seen a lot of people giving it a lot of crap for its plot, and it's got some melodramatic moments as far as like the story goes. But for me, it's like,
To all
yeah,
that, to
exactly,
all
yeah.
that.
Like if you're walking into the ninth film in this franchise and you're like upset about its cheesiness or its melodramatic, like stop watching these movies. Like you're almost 100. You're or you know you're like uh yeah, you're like 20 hours into this franchise and you're
Yeah.
still complaining about the things that make it what it is, you know. So it's like,
Right. I mean, can I give you my take real quick? I mean, I
yeah,
love that you compared it to Michael Bay and Transformers, because that's why I stopped watching Transformers movies,
yeah,
because Michael Bay would shoot the action with like extreme close-ups, and there are so many little pieces of teeny explosions and gunfire, like so
yeah,
much was happening in every single frame that I was like, I don't like this kind of action. I don't like his plots. I'm just gonna skip out these movies for a bit, and if
yeah,
someone comes along and tells me that they're great, I really Bumblebee is on my watch list. I'm not. I hear Bumblebee's different, so I'll give it a shot. But you know
yeah,
what I mean? Like I'm just not my thing.
yeah,
But like to me, F9 is the purest Fast and Furious movie so far.
yeah.
And what I mean by that is that the action, like there's two things that Fast and Furious is known for. Um, the two things are ridiculous action, which we just discussed about, has is turned up to the max on this movie. And then the other thing is emotion surrounding family, and it's usually pretty cheesy,
Yeah,
but it's like pretty. It's very ham-fisted, but it's emotional family stuff.
yeah,
And this one as well is turned up to the max. And so like the scenes with the family emotion, very cheesy, but also like that's what the whole series is about. It's
yeah,
about these like big emotional family stuff. It's basically a soap opera with big awesome cars
yeah.
and killer action
And
scenes.
everybody is
Like
a
that's what this
spy.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, that's my take on it. I thought this film was
yeah.
just like exactly what a fast movie should be.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I was so happy coming out of. Actually, I think that was the first I went and saw it with my friend Zach. He was like, "What'd you think?" I was like, it was everything I wanted it to be." And it's like I don't have like these giant expectations for them to deliver like an Oscar-worthy film. They gave me exactly what I wanted out of this movie, which was, yeah, just like action scenes that are just packed with imagination and cool, just like practical effects, and big Vin Diesel muscles all over the place, and yeah, some ham-fisted, heartfelt little family drama, and yeah, it like it did all of that, and then plus a whole plethora of fan service as well on top of that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely like a worth the wait kind of movie, and definitely a good movie to usher us back into like this blockbuster theater experience. I was very very happy with it. Um,
Yeah,
as my
me too.
initial.
I just, yeah, it was I was. The funny thing for me is that I could totally see why people would complain about the emotional stuff, because it was pretty cheesy. A lot of the
Yeah.
dialogue was cheesy, but like I swear to God though, I'm sitting back being like, I feel and see the cheese. I totally see what they're doing, but I think that's what this movie's about, and
Yeah.
I think like, and I love it for it. Like it to me is like aware enough, it knows what movie it is,
Yeah.
and it was just going for that. And that's the kind of thing I like. I don't really care about like, the ideal movie, or like what the movie, what makes a great movie. I don't really believe in like objective opinions, because I just want to see like creators doing their thing.
Yeah.
And to me, this was a vision. This was like someone who knew the Fast and Furious franchise better than almost anyone,
Yeah.
and he was coming back uh, to put it on the right track. I mean, quick rundown. I mean, we talked about it, how he did Fast Six,
Yeah.
and then he didn't do Fast Seven, and he didn't do Fast Eight, Furious Eight,
Yeah.
and
Fate of
Seven
the
was great.
Furious.
Yeah, Fate
Yeah.
of the Furious. F7 was great.
Yeah.
Like F7 was one of the best ones. Like that was maybe the only one that I'll cry during. Like
Right.
so it could be the best one.
Yeah.
But Fate of the Furious, the eighth one, like that one to me is like maybe might be the worst one. I haven't rewatched it since it's still in theaters. I remember enjoying it,
Yeah.
but like over time, you're like, okay, like that's the one where it had a lot of backstage drama with The Rock and Vin Diesel. Supposedly, it like had some script problems. Like the whole thing with that movie too was that Vin Diesel was like turning bad, even though like you knew he wasn't. Like
Yeah.
felt very like it felt like a very forced plot, that like the emotional element that the movies are usually resting on just wasn't there.
Yeah.
It wasn't it just didn't feel real at all. It didn't feel like a movie on the same level, even though everything worked out. Vin Diesel came back together with his family and
Yeah.
stuff. It's still just there's something like fundamentally off with the last one.
Yeah.
And I felt like with this one, Justin Lin had to come in and he showed everyone what a fast movie truly looks like. And
Yeah.
like, this is exactly what I wanted it to be, cheese and all.
I'm so glad that you liked it so much.
Yeah, no, I mean, like that's part of his where like we usually talk about star ratings at the end, and I'm like, I have no idea what the star rating should be, because like
I haven't even decided yet.
I feel like objective opinion, if I was like that sort of person, it's like, yeah, probably 4 stars with a heart, but like
Yeah.
I don't think I want to give it 5 because I didn't cry,
Right.
but I might give it 4.5 because it was exactly what I wanted it to be.
Yeah. Well, do you want to just start? Do you want to just kind of jump in, start gushing on different things we love, and just say spoilers ahead right now? We can just start jumping
Sure.
into.
Just start talking about some plot pieces and stuff, and
Yeah.
things that we liked, and I mean, of course, we'll have some things we don't like as well, but
Yeah.
yeah, we could just do spoilers from this point on, yeah, that makes sense to me.
All right. So one big thing that they did also reveal in the trailer is that Han's back in this movie.
Right.
And I haven't actually watched many reviews to know if people were like cared about how that was handled or not. And I thought they handled it kind of how most fast movies handle reviving old characters, which is like they just find kind of the quick way. It's like, let's not spend too much time on this. Listen, he's back. We regret getting rid of him, but he's back now, and like, let's move on, kind of thing. Yeah, I feel like
Well, the
that's how
whole
they handle a lot of their.
totally the whole Han thing was like by accident. Like they didn't realize when they made Tokyo Drift, the third movie, how popular
Right.
of a character he was going to be, and then he died in Tokyo Drift,
They kill
and
him
then
off in
they
the first movie. They
right,
introduce
and
him.
then they brought him back during the fifth movie, I think, right, or maybe in the fourth one.
The fourth one. Yeah.
Yeah, they bring him back during the fourth movie, and so it's like they're basically saying the fourth movie takes place before Tokyo Drift, and then they do three movies with him, and then he leaves in the sixth movie,
Yeah.
and then like dies, and they show his death in like the end credit scene, and it's like, so like basically with Han's death, they messed up in the planning for it, and then just everything got messed up in their timeline, and they
Yeah.
just basically said whatever, roll with it,
Yeah.
and we have, and but still we missed him, and part of it was that what's his name, the action
Jason Statham.
star, Jason Statham. His character was the one who killed Han in Tokyo Drift, or he didn't kill him in Tokyo Drift, but he in the post credit scene and this is so silly. In the post credit scene in Furious Six,
Yeah.
he had it was revealed that he was the guy who killed him, and so the seventh one was all about them getting him. But then by the time Fate of the Furious and Hobbs and Shaw come along, he's basically a
Part
good
of the
guy,
gang.
and it
Yeah.
was like, they're fans. Like the Fast Saga deals with a lot of fan service, so fans were like, "Hey, how come this guy, gets to be a good guy now? I mean, we kind of
Kill
like him,
him. Yeah.
He's kind of a cool guy. I get why you want to make him a good guy, but like, what happened to Han? Justice for Han. That was like a
Yeah.
movement, the Justice for Han movement.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so they just kind of brought him back, and like he was like, yeah, that death was
It was
staged.
fake.
Um,
Which
you
honestly, I
know,
kind of liked. Like it was kind of he's one of the I just rewatched all the movies except for Fate of the Furious. I just ran out of time. I didn't get to that one, but all the other movies I actually do like. I think his character is probably one of the more fleshed out characters. Just in the he's like the one guy of the group that actually kind of makes sense doing the things he's doing. Like he kind of was this mercenary type guy. Everyone else were like car racers and stuff, or like VCR thieves and stuff like that. But like that was kind of the thing they were hinting at from his introduction is that he was like a guy on the run in Tokyo. And so in this movie kind of filled in like what's been going on and like what he's been doing since he's been supposedly dead and stuff. And I think they like that was one of the more believable backstories that they've given off of characters that they've killed and had to bring back, or when they've dealt with that, like I kind of feel like Vin Diesel turning bad also kind of falls into that category of like they got to write themselves out of this story now. And I feel like this was one of the better handled attempts at doing that. While the whole death thing was kind of silly, like how they covered that up, I did like the further exposition that they gave about what he was doing in the meantime and stuff.
totally. And like, for me, it was like there was a moment where he came back, and everyone was like, Han, you're still alive,
Yeah.
and it was kind of awkward. Like Vin Diesel, Dom for a second was like, I mourned you. Like he didn't say it, but he gave him this look of like, I was sad that you died,
Yeah.
but I guess I'm happy that you're alive still. So,
Yeah.
all right. And then Teresa's like, what happened? And he's like, well, I fell in love in the sixth movie. Let me tell you about that. And Teresa's like, I saw the sixth movie. I was there, but we know that you died. And he was like, well, I didn't die though. So
Yeah.
let's move on. And then we all moved on. And
Yeah,
it's like,
bro.
okay,
You're
cool,
right.
Han's
You're
gone.
right, Han. Yeah, let's move on. That's funny. Yeah. Um Either way, I'm glad they brought him back. He's a character I really enjoyed. Um and it makes sense that it didn't fully make sense in true Fast and Furious fashion. So it is just one of those things where you just kind of move on. Um,
Yeah, no, we're all happy he's back.
hey, sorry, I gotta take a phone call real quick. It's kind of important, I think. One sec.
Okay. I just vamp for a second. I know that we're we're going live right now, so I'll just keep chatting. Yeah, uh, Han was great coming back. It's just so funny because they in the middle of it they showed a flashback from the sixth movie because he was in a relationship with Gal Gadot in that movie, and it's like they really had a connection. Like I haven't watched the sixth movie in a while, but they really did like have chemistry, even just that one little clip they showed. But it's also funny seeing Gal Gadot pre Wonder Woman. I don't know if any of you out there have had this experience, but seeing Gal Gadot pre Wonder Woman, it's just like, oh yeah, she kind of like is a normal person, or at least she was back then. But ever since she got cast as Wonder Woman, I feel like she's like become a
All right, good.
uh just goddess as an actress form. Sorry, I was just gushing about Gal Gadot for a second. So
Oh, yeah.
that's the champion.
Do you think she's gonna come back? They got two more
No,
movies.
no,
No.
I think she's definitely dead.
Oh,
But
okay.
I just was talking about how she's great.
Yeah.
They had that little flashback for a second of
Yeah.
their relationship from the sixth movie.
Yeah. That was really sweet. I really got into their relationship actually on this rewatch. Um. So, do we want to talk about like the big, kind of spoilery, like jump the shark moment that the movie does?
Sure.
So and I think it's been like kind of passed around in the fan sphere for a while. It was kind of a run. I thought it. Well, some people I think thought it was a running joke, but I guess they were serious, which was they definitely wanted to go to space before this franchise was over, and this was the movie that they did it in. Um, and I actually like on my rewatch, I really enjoyed Tokyo Drift. I was really surprised because I didn't really like it the first time I watched it. I don't know what has changed, but I had a lot of fun watching it. I actually enjoyed the characters, and I think it was just it being a little different than the rest of the movies made it kind of stand out for me. So it was actually kind of a if it was exciting when they showed those characters were like hanging out and they're just kind of these schlubby guys that I don't even fully understand what they were talking about. Like they got some government contract to make rockets for some reason or something,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
they were
totally.
friends with that guy that was like a rocket engineer, and so they were just hanging
Yeah,
out with him and helping him or
yeah.
something.
It's been a while since I've watched Tokyo Drift, and I
Yeah,
honestly like had to remind myself, like, oh yeah, those are the guys from Tokyo Drift. And honestly, it was great seeing them though. Like
yeah,
they were happy to be there.
yeah,
And you know, Marvel does this thing where they kind of their newer movies often like retcon the previous movies that had bad receptions to make them more important.
yeah,
I'm excited to go back and watch Tokyo Drift now, just because
yeah,
I think I'll enjoy it a little bit more because these guys were so fun in this movie.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And pretty much those guys, they like, I can't remember why they run into him. I want to say somebody like is like these guys can hook you up with a car, right? So they go and talk to these guys, Ludacris and Tyrese, who had never met them before, and they find out that they've been like fucking around and building this rocket, trying to like get a car to go as fast as like a jet. And one thing leads to another. By the end of this movie, they need to go stop a satellite in space, and so they use that car. And it's one of those scenes that's like, it's so over the top and so just like there's no part of it that you can really even begin to believe. Um, but I was pretty on board for it still. And even like it would cut back to them like floating in space in this Pontiac Fiera or whatever it is. And like it's just so like just the image of that was so silly and so like Fast and Furious. I would bust up laughing just at the establishing shot every time they'd cut back to these guys in space just because it was so ridiculous but so on
Yeah.
brand
No, no,
and
for sure.
fun.
Yeah, I loved it. I'm all for them doing these ridiculous, possibly jump the shark type things.
Yeah.
To me, this totally worked, and on a few levels it worked. Like there was, like, like one thing that dumb movies do is, just tell you, hey, science, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
and this movie is like basically ludicrous the whole time is going the numbers don't lie, we should be able to fly,
Yeah.
blah 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 blah, and
Right.
then the numbers work and they're able to fly.
Yeah.
Although, all of us have seen like First Man and like
Yeah.
other movies where like, yeah, you can send a rocket to space, but a lot can go wrong.
Yeah.
We all know this at this point, but still the movie's just like numbers, blah blah blah, it'll work.
Yeah.
And it does. And they also pepper in little other things like uh Tyrese goes, uh two guys from the ghetto, and now we're in space. No one's gonna believe us. And Ludacris is like, "Yep, no one's gonna believe us." And it's like, "Yep, no one's gonna believe you. This is unbelievable,
Yeah.
but it's awesome though."
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really, like it's just part of like Justin Lin, I think, being a really good director, is that it's still thrilling, like however unbelievable it is. Like they're jettisoning into space is like it's still a thrilling, like exciting scene, and you're on board for whatever these characters are going to do, and so you're just like, all right, I guess we're going into space. And yeah, I don't know, it's really fun, is
I mean,
ridiculous it is, but
what I want the Fast and Furious franchise to do. I don't know if I've told you this, but this is a Universal movie. I really think I should combine Fast and Furious with Jurassic World. Like, I
oh
would
shit.
love to see Dom driving alongside Velociraptors, or
Oh my
whoever,
god.
like Letty, like driving in between like a Brachiosaurus legs and stuff like that. Like, I think that could work in the world that they're setting up, and
It
they
could
could
work.
have one of the coolest crossovers of all time. I mean, yeah, it would be jumping the shark, but
They've
you know
already.
what? Both franchises kind of have.
Yeah.
So
That's actually
I think,
really, that's such a good pairing, because I didn't think about it until you brought it up just now, that I really, um, me and Cal at your bachelor party were gushing over Jurassic World 2 for like 3 hours. And like just how it's so campy and so cheesy, and like it's just like a total B movie. And these movies totally, like, they fit in that same tone of just like nothing matters. Like, don't worry about anything. Like, we're just doing stuff that's cool and fun and exciting, and like that they would
yeah,
totally blend together really well. That's a really good crossover idea.
totally. So let's get on that. Producers,
Yeah, Colin
um,
Trevorrow.
$1 billion movies. Let's do it.
um
Um,
what
yeah,
were some of your favorite, do you have any other big, I
yeah.
mean, I know
I
there's
got a
there's
bunch
like
of
a
things I
big
like.
chunk of
Yeah.
the movie that happens at the end. I don't know if we
I
want to
think
talk
another
about that.
thing to talk about with this movie is the magnets. This is the
Yes.
movie where they discover a giant magnet that's super powerful, and at some point they don't really show it happening, but at some point they like take that design, and basically all the cars have magnets on them now. So there's a lot of fun scenes with them driving around and then turning on the magnet, and cars just fly into other cars, or
Yes.
watches fly off of people. Like they're driving by like a mall, and things are like flying through the windows, smashing the car behind them. Like a lot of fun timing things with the magnets too, and uh, really cool, really cool scenes with that.
It's one of those things where it's like, don't think too hard about the physics of it, but look how freaking cool this is.
Yeah,
And that's another one of those things that they did a lot of that practically. Not with real magnets, but all the stunts and big car flips and stuff.
totally.
Um, it's all practical, and it's
Yeah, you can tell that those are real cars.
yeah,
Oftentimes. I mean, sometimes they're not.
yeah,
Obviously you can tell like when it's CG. I guess you can't 100% tell all the time, but like there are
yeah,
scenes where like a tank is driving down the street just smashing into hundreds of cars. I'm pretty sure those were all real cars.
yeah,
Like those looked like real cars. You can
yeah,
see the like metal breaking,
yeah.
in a way
That's,
that like
I know they actually built that big thing. It was like, and they built it to withstand launching like 10, like tons of cars at it.
yeah,
Like, so they're actually launching cars at that
yeah,
thing for real, as it's
yeah.
actually driving down the road, which is, and yeah, you can feel the visceral, like, impact of those kind of things.
Totally.
I like that set piece at the end was just like, I was floored the whole way. I was just like, this is so freaking cool the whole time, mouth agape. Like, by the time it got to the end of it, where Dom and his brother are kind of teaming up to flip that thing, like that whole scene, I was just like, holy crap. And just
Yeah.
like the visual of it, like they really, God, they're just so good at like capturing like the I don't really know what the term is, but there's a way to film something that like brings out like the child wonderness inside of the audience, and like
Yeah.
I was like, that's like the kind of stuff we would have done with like Hot Wheels back in like fourth grade. It's like,
Totally.
and then this thing flips, and like the way they do it, like they make it so it's still cool for adults too. Like it's just so
Yeah.
cool looking. It's so
Yeah.
exciting,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Totally.
After watching this movie, like I was thinking about it for like a couple days about just like I'm really sold on Justin Lin as an action director. Like, I even like some of his lesser movie. Like some people aren't big fans of his Star Trek movie. Like, I think this guy is one of the better action filmmakers out there. And every time he does one of these Fast and Furious movies, he proves that like they're still just like bursting with ideas and like crazy new set pieces that are so inventive and showing you things you've never seen before, because they don't make sense half the time. But that's what's so cool about them, is it's just like pure imagination and mixing it with cars and metal and muscles and stuff.
Yeah, dude. Um, So I think we would be remiss to not talk about John Cena a little bit, just
Yeah,
because you mentioned that he played Dom's brother, and that scene that you're talking about at the end of it, he he flies out of the car and Dom catches him with his car, which
yeah,
is something that happens a lot. He catches Letty all the time, and it's
yeah,
like a superpower a little bit that like he can catch people with his car and they're safe,
yeah,
and he does that with his brother, and John Cena is pretty revealed early on that he's the bad guy, and then right away they're like, oh yeah, that's his long lost brother. The movie opens with this extremely dramatic scene where Dom's dad dies, and it's pretty horrifying. Like
yeah,
they're at a racetrack, and Dom's like cheering him on, watching him, helping him on the pit crew, and then like a car hits him, and an accident happens, and then like the most violent fiery explosion you could ever see on like a racetrack happens.
yeah,
Like you're like, oh yeah, within seconds you're like, no one survived that. Like
yeah,
100%, like that is the biggest explosion ever. Turns out John Cena was like there as well, and they had a falling out because um, he had adjusted something in the car to make it so that like the car would move slower, or like
yeah,
like he was basically throwing the race for his dad, and they had a falling out because of that. And I don't know how much we want to get into the spoilers, but it's like I guess we're in the spoiler section, but
yeah,
basically like it's revealed that John Cena was like, Dad told me to. He didn't want to tell you because of pride, but Dad told me to throw the race for him. He's trying to get the debt off his back and stuff, and
yeah,
it was like there was a lot of like pretty intense like masculine emotions going on through all of this,
for
because
sure.
like what prompted them to have the falling out was like, we're gonna race, and if I win then you're out of here, you're not part of this family anymore. And
Yeah,
Dom wins, and John Cena just drives away. Actually, it wasn't John Cena at that point, his name was Jacob just drives away,
yeah,
and then he comes back years later as a super agent. Again, don't ask about it, whatever. But he he kind of kept to himself, like, I'm not going to tell Dom because I promised Dad that I'm not going to tell him. But Dom is like never going to forgive me. And
yeah,
it's like they have this like, it's like a respect for the family, respect for the dead. Like, rest in peace, Dad. I'm going to keep this secret, even
yeah,
if it means destroying our relationship with my brother. And it's like eventually it comes out, and Dom has this like lucid dream, like revisiting like what happened that day, and he like in that comes to grips with like what happened,
yeah.
and he forgives his brother like emotionally, and then it's like he forgives him physically by like driving by him, and they make eye
Gotcha.
contact and they nod at each other, and he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're working together now, we're buds.
Beef squashed.
Yeah. So, I thought John Cena was pretty great in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly impressed with John Cena. Every movie he's in, I'm just like, yes, I'm glad you're following The Rock's footsteps. I'm glad you're like becoming a movie star. I think he has he's really great timing. Like
Yeah.
he didn't really show any of his comedy in this movie, but like the comedies he's been in have been great. And um but still, like I think he nailed like all the action beats, and he certainly looks like an action hero. Like
Yeah.
the first shot of him is like he's standing on a cliff looking out. They pan up to him, they show his butt first, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I recognize that butt. That's John Cena's butt. I've watched enough wrestling to see that butt from anywhere.
Yeah.
And then it's him, and he's driving around. He looks great in the car. He looks like a giant muscly man standing there by Vin Diesel. It's like
Hmm.
it works, and I'm psyched that he's in it, and I'm psyched. Like it's the most obvious thing that he would become friends with them by the end. Like
Yeah.
he's, but I'm glad like we watched it play out. I'm glad it happened. It's like, again, I'm sorry, but I'm all in on this,
Yeah.
and it was cool.
No, me too. Absolutely. That car crash stuff too. That ties in really well with like the first movie. There's a whole scene of Dom and Brian talking about his dad's death. He talks about, he's like, I watched my father burn on that track that day and stuff like that. So it was funny that like 9 films later they go back to that and actually tie it in some way. It's like there's all sort, everything in the series, like sequels are based on one line from one movie somewhere, and so it's just kind of fun. It was like, of course, oh, yeah, of course they got to go back to that at some point. Like, there's lots of lines
Totally,
they got to explain now. But
totally.
the other thing I wanted to point out about this movie that I really appreciated was that they got rid of the weird, like 5, 6, and 7 all have this weird, like generic, like action music. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's like terrible music. It's so bad. And in this one, they're like, why don't we like hire someone to make a score? Because all of a sudden it has like a normal like movie score that like sounds good and stuff like that. And the other ones, they're all, it's like this weird, I don't even know, it sounds like it's some like clip art music thing. But I really
I'm
appreciated that
sorry,
they.
I don't remember. I'm sorry,
No,
but
it's fine. Just rewatching
did
them all,
hear a
there's
bunch
something
of
I was like,
songs I liked on the like just not the score, but there were a bunch of songs in the movie that I thought went really well with what was happening.
oh, okay.
They do have some great soundtracks. Like they've always been like a little ahead of the curve with their soundtracks.
Soundtracks. Yeah.
Uh,
They. The other thing is that that scene you were talking about with Vin Diesel, where he's like, yeah, like experiencing like the past. They've done that in like probably half the Fast movies have done that thing.
it's kind of part of Dom's superpower a little bit.
It
Like
is, yeah,
Dom has a few superpowers. Like one of them is super strength.
yeah.
Another one is that he can catch people with his car, so he has like gentle hands, gentle
Mm.
car body. And third one is like he can like he's not trans like
He's
lucent, but
transparent.
he's transparent. Like yeah, he can like
That's
he
not
can
the
like
word.
not
But yeah,
that's not,
no, I know.
he is trans I'm I'm making I'm not gonna get the word. I'm
Yeah,
sorry, but like he can sense like he's like psychic.
yeah,
He can like touch things and then like experience the memory. He does this all
yeah.
the time, and like it happened in the fourth movie when he like touched the
He
ground and then he
does.
like saw how Letty died,
Yeah,
and
he knew exactly
yeah,
what
it's
happened.
part of his superpower, and that kind of like I think they all kind of have superpowers. Like I've been saying this for movies now, like since
Oh,
like the sixth one, like he's like they all have superpowers, and like this brings me to like the next thing is that like
yeah. I was
Tyrese
gonna say
like
before we go, we got to talk about Tyrese.
right, Tyrese kind of starts figuring it out that they're like in a movie or something weird is going on, and like I'm sorry, but I'm a sucker for these things. I love
Yeah,
like fourth wall breaking stuff, and
yeah,
like just like Tyrese was my favorite character in this movie. I've
yeah.
never said that before.
I
Tyrese has
absolutely
never
agree.
been my favorite character, and he was to me he was the MVP of this movie. But like in that opening scene that you're talking about, like that we talked about up front, like there's a part where he's like getting the thing that they're looking for, and then he gets surrounded by men, like all with guns, and he just starts shooting wildly, and he kills like 10 guys at least, and he's like, wow, that was crazy. And he kind of looks down, and he's like, did I really not get shot there? And then he like gets into another spot with like a landmine, and he like falls. He like his car gets stuck, and then like he gets away from landline, but then his car blows up, and the piece of the car like looks like it lands right on it. And for a second, they're like, "Wow, did Tyrese just die?" We're all like, "We know Tyrese didn't die," but like Ludacris plays it like, "Whoa, we just watched that car fall on Tyrese," and then he like walks around. He's like, "That didn't fall on me. I'm alive," but then 10 minutes later, he's going like he's seen there like they're back at the headquarters, and he's like, guys, something weird is going on. Um, like I should have died so many times. Like I don't have like
Well,
I didn't get shot.
he shows his
He's like,
shirt. He's like, I have
yeah,
bullet holes in my shirt.
I have bullet holes in my shirt. I don't know how I didn't die. And then like he's like, remember all the adventures that we've been on at this point? I mean, like a few years ago we like had that whole thing with the submarine. Like that was crazy, And like he goes over a few examples of like we keep having these crazy experiences and there's no scars on us. Like there's no blood. Like we're fine. Like something weird is going on.
Yeah.
And I mean that's kind of the extent of it. I feel like there's a few other little moments in the movie.
Yeah,
Where
he's kind of is like character throughout the movie is just kind of discovering that he's invincible is kind of what he's discovering.
Yeah.
He's like,
yeah.
he actually says that a couple times. He's like, no, we're
Yeah.
invincible. Like,
So
we're
he
going to
figured out what
space.
his superpower is, and that's to be invincible. And
Yeah.
I think that some other of them share a similar quality. But
Yeah,
that to me was very fun and very funny.
it was very fun, and it'll be interesting to see if that's like something fun they wanted to do with this movie, or if they're gonna like move in that direction as we get
Right.
close to closing out this franchise. The last two.
I was
movies,
kind of
yeah.
worried that was like they were gonna kill him off because of that. The guy who's
Oh,
saying I'm
yeah.
invincible, I'm invincible. Does that mean he's gonna die next?
Right.
But
It might be a
either
setup
way, it
for
was-
one of the next movies.
totally. But maybe they'll just bring him back then. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like
It's true.
yeah, things happen. So
Yeah. But cool. Well, um, it
that's
sounds
all
like,
I got.
yeah.
I mean, we could like we've been talking about this
Yeah.
movie for 40 minutes now or whatever. Like we
There's
can
like
call it.
big characters we haven't even talked about, but this movie's just it's really big. There's a lot happens in it, and it's very much like just stock full of characters from this universe. So, um, if you're into these kind of movies, definitely go check it out because
Totally.
it's great. It's like it's a
Eric, 1 second.
oh yeah, it's fine. I just think it hits all the marks of what make this franchise great, and I think it's one of the better entries. So, um, definitely worth checking out. Also, it's playing in theaters. You can't watch it at home, so it's a good reason to get out there and um, contribute to the revival of the industry um, and have fun doing it. Get out of the heat for a little bit. I guess while Nick's gone, I can talk about one other thing we never brought up, which was Fate and the Furious introduces this character named Cypher, played by Charlize Theron, and she is a big part of this movie, and I think she's going to continue to be a part of this franchise going forward. I was just talking about Charlize Theron. I think was kind of in this as like I think she's going to play another part like going forward in the franchise. I think she was just kind of a background player in here, but they kept her on board enough that it seems like she's a villain they'll return to.
Well, in some ways, this was like an in-between movie where
Yeah.
they had like, they weren't dealing with the biggest plot.
Yeah.
The bad guy was John Cena and his crony, who I don't even know who that was.
Yeah.
And he, and like, they lost Kurt Russell, Mr. Nobody, so
Yeah.
he'll come back, and yeah, Charlize Theron's like the big bad. They just
Yeah.
haven't gone to her yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, either way, sounds like we both, at least both of us, really enjoyed it. Yeah. So get out there and go check it out. It's in theaters. You can only see it in theaters.
Totally.
All right. Well, with that, I think we'll start to close this out. Next week, Nick and Brandon are reviewing the movie Zola. Do you know where you can watch that movie? Is that theaters only? Or?
It'll be in theaters. It comes out this week, so
Okay.
it comes out tomorrow. And it's like, AMC's advertising as one of their like artisan movies. It's like this movie won
Smaller.
Sundance
Oh, okay.
in 2020, so it's like, it's had like a lot of buzz for a while, and it's finally getting a release,
Yeah.
because of COVID and stuff. But it looks like a super stylized indie drama. So,
Nice.
I'm really really excited about this movie.
Cool. Well, yeah, so that's what they'll be reviewing next Tuesday. Um, I think that's it. Just like and subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and see you next week.
Cool.
Bye.
Thanks. See ya.
See ya.